Do you want to fly a plane like you're Luke Skywalker running the trench run on the Death Star? Stay tuned. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Shiv, and today we're going to be talking about the Me-329 ground attack plane for the Germans. This is a Tier 8 non-premium plane, alright? So you're going to have to grind for this plane. But guys, let me tell you, it is worth the grind. Sort of. This plane is amazing. It's super fast. It's more agile than a lot of the other ground attacks that you're going to get your hands on at Tier 8, and can do some really interesting and funny things that most of the other ground attackers can't do, like fight against each other better than anyone else. I'm not even kidding. In the IL-20 versus 329, we did discover that, yes, this shit's all over an IL-20, hands down. But the IL-20 did actually kind of make up for itself in other ways. The 329 is a fast, nimble, early aggressor. Like, this is the guy that leads the charge every step of the way. This plane can get up to 660 plus kilometers an hour. That's really fast for a ground attacker. Okay, that's fast for freaking everything other than a freaking heavy fighter at this tier. All right. Yeah, regular fighters and multi-rolls can get up to that amount in a dive. This one can do it on a level flight at like 500 meters. Okay. Just saying, it can. And it's able to do this because it comes with 45 seconds of boost. Yes, 45 seconds of boost, ladies and gentlemen. That's insane. This allows this plane to zip across the battlefield, going from point to point to point to point to point. Relatively easy. It can get in there, drop some quick bombs, do a couple little gunnery, and then peel off to go to the next zone. It can stay on target and continue trying to clear things up. But in all honesty, if you're moving around in a battle where you've got a lot of human players, being able to go from point to point to point to point to point like this actually will play out quite nicely. What this ends up doing is it puts threats on multiple different locations and allows you to accumulate a lot of capture points really quickly without having to expose yourself from prolonged engagements over contested areas. This kind of works to its advantage quite nicely, but at the same time, you may not be capping overly too well, and you're going to be highly reliant on your team being somewhat competent, which, as we know in this game, isn't always the case. So sometimes you're going to have to stay on that point. But if you're flighted up with somebody who's really good, and you see you got some other players that are also really good, then yeah, you could do some amazing things. Now, there's talk of them changing the whole flight concept to where instead of just 2 to 3, when this happens, all of a sudden this plane's going to become freaking amazing. Okay, I'm gonna tell you right now, this plane will be amazing at Tier 8 if that happens, because what you're going to end up seeing is 3 people on a team. That means you're going to have at least 2 other people you know are competent, plus yourself playing this plane, and you can actually pull off some of these more advanced meta tactics for Tier 8. Alright, just saying. Now, you're not going to be able to do this on every map because of the layout and things of that nature are going to make this somewhat complicated. And there are definitely some maps that are better suited for, say, the 329, and some maps that are better suited for, say, the IL-20. But in general, the 329 can definitely hold its own on every single map. Now, let's talk about some of the equipment and some of the tactics here, shall we? So we're going to go over to the upgrades here real quick. Let's talk about the equipment here. Alright, so you get 250 bombs. You got a 20 millimeter in the rear with a 900 meter range, which is pretty awesome, and leads to our first discussion of tactics. Tag and drag. I know you guys have heard me talk about this in other videos. It's a pretty simple concept, but it is perfected in this plane. Okay, so like I said before, this plane can get up to 660 kilometers an hour, if not faster. I've actually pushed it to 700. It was actually hilarious. The thing was red and the whole thing was shaking. It was great. But yeah, because of that, you can get onto a point pretty quickly, like an airbase or a garrison and whatnot, start doing damage to things, and then it's going to piss off all the air defense fighters. And they have this weird sort of swarm logic that whoever is the biggest threat right that point, as in done a shit ton of damage or is the closest to them, is the one they're going to focus on. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, with your bombs and your guns, you're pretty much going to be the primary for that threat matrix. So they're going to dive down on you, at which point you're going to notice this, because you're going to see the little splashes on your wings from when they're shooting you, at which point you find yourself a nice little level flight path, and you start hitting on your boost. You hit T, and you start gunning them down. Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Killing them over the point equals out to more capture on the point. So this is also playing to its role quite nicely. Now, once you've captured the point, guess what? You probably didn't use all your boosts. Use it to get to the next point. And again, your speed's really going to help this. It allows you to transition from capture to capture to capture relatively quickly. This is something the IL-20 can't do. It has to plan out its attack pattern. It can't change on a dime to counter the enemy's intentions and, you know, things of that nature. But the 329 can. Now, let's get to the next thing. The 30mm cannons. We have 4 30mm cannons. This is actually pretty damn huge for this plane. Okay, so the only other plane in the game that has 30mm cannons at tier 8 that is a ground attacker is the NC-1070. Guess what? It only has 2. You get 4. That's just awesome. Okay, so they're German 30mm. They're the 108s, which means they don't really have as good a range as, say, the 103s do, but, you know, it is what it is. But they do a decent amount of damage, and it has a pretty good rate of fire. Now, this will actually lead to you being able to crush down all little small targets, like the tents and the wooden shacks and things of that nature, as well as laying down some supportive fire on the more hardened targets, before you drop, say, a bomb on it to ensure that you cap the whole of that zone. All right, just killing a couple pieces there does really absolutely nothing for you, but actually killing everything in the zone that you're trying to destroy actually pays out pretty good. All right, and also we're going to talk about universal ammo and whether or not it's worth it with this when we get there. But these 30mm also have another little feature: defense. Okay, so 30mm guns hit like a freight train, and the fact that you have 4 of them means that you can pretty much shred anybody who wants to try to go head-on with you. You could go up against heavy fighters, boom, 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 boom. You're going to knock enough of them down to where when they do ram into you, and they will, they're pretty much already near dead, and you're going to take minuscule amounts of damage. Fighters, boom, you can shred them all in about 6 hits if you're landing most of your shells. Multi-rolls, same basic deal. Other ground attacks now, here's where it gets even better. So you look at the IL-20 as the direct competitor against this. Well, the IL-20 does not turn nearly as fast, is kind of slow, is kind of big, and has a huge cross-section to hit with your guns, right? That big, huge, bulbous head, as well as the wide mid-body, makes for hitting with 30mm a fucking joy, and really, really easy, as long as you give enough lead and angle. All right, and because of this, the 329 can shit all over IL-20s quite nicely. Though, truth be told, you can kill 329s with an IL-20 if you know how to play it correctly, but it's not nearly as easy as it is for the 329 to shit on IL-20. Just telling you right now, guys. And that plays to the whole defensive nature that this plane can actually pull off. When you capture a mine, right, the last thing you want is the enemy to come back and quick cap it. You want to get that burst of capture points that it provides before you ever let it get taken out. And one of the strategies that a lot of teams like to do is they like to prevent that from happening. Well, guess what? You can actually intercept those ground attackers on the way there, take them out while you're on your way to the next point you're going to cap. And because you have so much speed as well as maneuverability, you can do this quite nicely. Very, very nicely. So yeah, that's always a plus there. Now let's talk about crew skills. Okay, so for our pilot, we decided to go protection expert first because, you know, ground attack, every little bit of life helps. We went with engine guru next because, well, speed is everything for this plane. And then we went with demolition expert. Now, if you're wondering why I said then we went with demolition expert, as in this was our third choice, just remember the grind path that we had to go through to get here, all right? We didn't get to where we could drop bombs until tier 7, alright? Because we had to go through the Stuka and the Ju-88P, all of which are gun-heavy ground attacks. This one is not. This is a combination. So, yeah. Demolition Expert really didn't become viable until about tier 7. So, yeah. Now, for rear gunner, we're going with our standard defensive build. You know, we have the whole quick reflexes because of the whole tag and drag strategy. This actually works out really good, as well as defensive fire because, again, I still think this is the best skill you can get for a ground attack plane, hands down. Now, future-wise, I'm probably going to invest in endurance because, you know, protecting your rear gunner, as is a huge part of your skill, is a really important idea. Or I could save up and possibly get the precision gunner or grab an armor to go down into ballistic expert to add more range. That's another option, though I think the precision gunner is probably going to be the next choice there. But again, that's a lot of experience away. It's going to be like 500,000 more experience before we get to that point, so it's kind of a moot point. At that point, you're talking about being in tier 10, in theory. So, that's the crew skills. That's the upgrades and equipments and so on. But in general, guys, this plane is super fun to play. It's very fast. It's very nimble. You got to get in that mindset of, like, you know, Speed Racer, Luke in the freaking, the trench run on the Death Star, or maybe Anakin in pod racing. I mean, that's the mindset you got to get in, because you're going to be fast, you're going to be loose, you're going to be down low on the ground, and it's an adventure, and it's really dangerous. I'm not even gonna lie, there's a lot of stuff you can collide in down there, and that's what makes it such a challenge and such a thrill. You know, when you're dodging that freaking radio mast with like an inch to spare, or almost smashing the rear of your plane down on the deck, and then pulling away and like catching the enemy with a bomb. This plane just makes you... Whew, it's an adrenaline rush, right? It is an adrenaline rush. I have so much fun in this plane, and I hope you guys will too. But you know what? That's a lot of talky. Let's get to some play footage, shall we?
Show me what you can do, pilots. Let's roll.
All right, so we're going to the mine. Alright, so that did take us a little bit of time there to grab, but we did grab it. Alright, so far they're staying up high. Hopefully they can't see me. Now I should be going and grabbing the enemy that are coming off that plant. But I might be able to pull here. Alright, we got a little tag and drag action going here. Let's do it. And we took it. Alrighty then. So let's get back in here. Okay, what I'm looking for is ground attackers. Oh, that's a J7. Where's his engine? That J7 is a much higher priority to mitigate. Crap. Yeah. If ever there's a reason to use a consumable, it's right there. But both of them are really beat to crap. So hopefully that'll play to us. Actually, I'm going to start here. Yeah. Hopefully I'll be able to get in here and stop. If I can, that'd be great. If not, that's also going to suck. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay, we got it, so that's helpful. Alright. That's a player, too. Took his engine out.
There's a heavy storm here. Unable to proceed. Return into base. Do you copy?
Gotta watch out for the BVs. We win either way.
Victory is ours. We're waiting for your return.
Decent game. Decent game, ladies and gentlemen. The game, like I said, guys, it's an amazing plane. Very fast, very nimble to some degree, able to actually hunt down other ground attack planes very nicely, and we killed a player IL-22 in that game. That was the good takeaway there. So anyway, guys, I hope you like this video, and I hope you get a chance to play the 329. If you do like this video, please like, subscribe, give me some upvotes, leave me some comments down below. I always appreciate the feedback. Anyway, till next time, this is Shiv saying stay safe, have fun, may Orange Jesus bless you.